Hi, my name is Steven.
It is I, Kevin.
And I am David, the eldest champion.
And we are the Brothers Born.
We invite you to bear witness as this most unlikely of throwdowns is about to commence.
Welcome back to the Unlikely Throwdowns podcast. It's the youngest brother, Steven, here with you. And I got, of course, my older brother, Kevin.
That's me.
Our oldest brother, David, had to go do some stuff with his kids. So we've extended to my brother-in-law, Zach Wenzel. Hello, Zach.
Hello, hello.
Yes, so Zach is married to my wife's sister, and we're welcoming him on the Unlikely Throwdowns podcast today. And I'm pretty excited. I think there's a pretty good chance I'm going to win this one today. So
yeah, I'm so tired of losing, dude.
whatever, you've won 5 times. I've only won twice, so I will.
That's
take
true.
this.
That's true.
But yeah, so Zach is going to be our guest judge today. So, Zach, feel free if you have any questions you want clarification on with our characters, or if you have any like thought-provoking ideas of how they might work in a situation, feel free to interject. But we can go ahead and get started. Zach, who should go first in introducing their character, me or my brother Kevin?
Let's go with Kevin.
All
right. So for my character, his first appearance was actually as a mascot for a comic book shop in Massachusetts back in 1986. But he was eventually featured in his own comic strip for that publication. His first appearance as a main character in his self-titled animated series is 1994. And he's appeared again in a live action adaptation, like in a TV series or live action in 2001, and then his second time in 2016. He has been played by 3 actors, to include Patrick Warburton. So, any ideas yet?
I have no guesses yet. Zach, do you have any guesses?
Patrick Warburton. Is it the Tick?
Yeah, it's the Tick.
Very good, man. I'm impressed. Well, that's perfect. What other information you want to give about the Tick? Anything, background, a little bit about him?
Well, so he has no memory of his life before becoming a superhero. But it's thought that he may have escaped a mental institution, and he was assigned to protect the city after passing a superhero initiation test. It has been suggested he may have come from outer space, but there's no information about the character before his time as a hero. And the city that he protects is called simply the City.
The Tick is a great show, man. I used to love that. He's got that cool sidekick with the moth guy, right? Arthur, I think is his name.
Oh, yeah, Arthur.
All right. Well, my character, he was born in 1929 to a German-American family. And he is a physicist, specifically a nuclear physicist. And when he was 30 years old, well, I guess he's also appeared in comic books, primarily is where he originates from. But there are movies and I believe a TV show out about him as well. Let's see when the comic book was published real quick. I actually forgot to look that up. So, okay, the comic book was published in 1986 or 1987. That's when it first came out, and it was published by DC Comics, I believe. So yeah, he's a atomic physicist, nuclear physicist. He's working on intrinsic field experiments, and he stepped into a testing chamber, and by accident he left his coat in there. So he went to go grab his coat from this chamber, and he got shut in, and it ticked on, and he was torn apart at the molecular level.
Is this Dr. Manhattan?
Yes, it is Dr. Manhattan.
I don't even know why I'm bothering with this battle then.
So the reason I didn't choose Dr. Manhattan, special shout out to Sebastian, loyal listener Sebastian, for submitting Dr. Manhattan. This is a listener submission. So I realize he's a little OP, so I don't know how this is going to go, but they can relate. They're both blue. So the thing about Dr. Manhattan is he I've never watched or read The Watchmen. Just a little. I like to give a little disclaimer for those who may listen who know the story well. I apologize if I do not, represent this character accurately. But a little bit about him. He was he went into this chamber and he was dematerialized on a molecular level, and he got over a couple months. He kind of got put back together, but instead of his normal body, his name was John Osterman. Now he is Dr. Manhattan. He's blue and he never wears pants. So it's a little fun fact about him. I guess maybe he does, but it seems like he never wears pants. He was recruited by the government to help win the Vietnam War. And he's worked with other superheroes, and his transformation just did all kinds of stuff to him. He is basically a god now after his
That's what I'm
transformation.
saying. How am I supposed to win a battle against somebody who has no weakness?
He does have a
Although
weakness, actually. I found this out. I can give you, since he's so powerful, I'll give you this, okay? Just before we even get into it. A couple of the weaknesses. Number, he lacks apathy. He's his unlimited power has made him sort of distance himself from humanity.
He lacks empathy, not apathy.
Yes, I would say, sorry. His code of ethics requires him to make the choice that benefits the most people. He is tachyons, some physical term that he is weak against, and also possibly weak against EM pulses, like EMF stuff. So consider that as we go forward. Before we get too much into it, let's take a quick break.
A wise man once said, "Cash rules everything around me. It's all about the money. Dollar bills, y'all." Now, the Brothers Born are definitely not part of the Wu-Tang Clan. But the sentiment, well, it's still true. When it comes down to it, making the content that we do can have some costs when it comes to equipment and certain fees. This is where you come in as a listener. No obligation here, but if you do like what we have and you would like to contribute a little bit of funds our way so we can improve our content, there's 3 different tiers of payment in which you can use. The first one is a simple, cheap tier of 99 cents. Not too bad. Next tier would be $4.99, or if you're straight ballin', $9.99 for the third tier. Now, there's no obligation here. We're going to do the content either way, but we definitely would appreciate a little help. Thank you in advance, and we look forward to providing more content for you.
Welcome back to this episode of the Unlikely Throwdowns. So Steven's got Dr. Manhattan going. I had the tick. I feel like this is very one-sided. However, maybe not so much. You had mentioned that Dr. Manhattan is apathetic, lacks empathy.
Yes.
The tick, in a lot of ways, kind of the opposite. He's very well-intended. He's very friendly. He's a good-natured person. He has almost a childlike quality oftentimes. He gets intrigued by things that are kind of common to others. He finds interest in. So I don't know. They're kind of like opposites in a way.
Yeah. Sure.
Hey, I'm trying. All right. Anyway, what are we getting into now?
All right.
What are we doing?
Let's talk about their abilities. I'll go ahead and go first because there's a list for sure. But let me start off with Dr. Manhattan is omnipotent. He can see the past, present, and future based on the individual. He was able to, he knew about the JFK assassination. He knew that was going to happen before it happened.
But also after it happened.
Yes,
and
that's
as
right.
it happened.
As it happened, yes. But because of his omnipresent situation, he can also time travel, apparently. And if he wants to, he can take people with him on his time travel. So that's pretty solid. He can phase his body through objects, so he can kind of I don't know how, I'm not a physicist by any stretch of the imagination, but he kind of breaks himself up into little molecules so he can phase through things and reintegrates himself on the other side. He can make copies of himself that are each independent. He can make himself real big, make himself real small. He's got super strength. He can disintegrate people. That's pretty cool. He can create force fields, and he can create and destroy matter. Telekinesis. Basically, there's any power out there, my boy, Dr. Manhattan's got it. He doesn't have laser vision, I guess, but oh, look out, Cheryl Crow, because my man actually has walked on the sun. So, you know, he is he's pretty powerful. And fun fact, he single-handedly is responsible for electric cars. So he's eco-friendly as well. So long that you there's a few more things, but I'll chew on that for a little bit. Give me what the tick, Scott.
Super strength.
Okay.
That's basically it. So he's I mean that's not entirely it, but he's got superhuman strength and mass inflict, and he's able to inflict great damage. His there's no his full strength has never been fully quantified.
Yes.
But he has been seen lifting a whole car with a single hand. And the tick himself claims to have, and I quote, the strength of 10, perhaps 20 men, a crowded bus stop worth of men. So there's that. He does have nigh invulnerability, which means like it's near impossible to seriously injure him.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah,
Good to know.
Like for example, he fell 4,000 feet crashing through a concrete road into a speeding subway train and survives without any like lasting effects at all.
Okay.
But he is still vulnerable to like, pain. Like he still feels pain. He also has what's called drama power.
Drama power?
Yes. So essentially his power increases as the situation becomes more dramatic.
Oh man, that's something to watch out for, actually.
He can survive in space and underwater, so can Dr. Manhattan. So there we go. Without oxygen for, as he says, at least a long time.
See, I like the tick because he doesn't have any measurable like limits. It's just
he really
whatever.
And then he can also leap like great bounds and bound great heights with ease. And he's also impervious to bullets.
Impervious, like he can't be blasted by bullets.
No.
Neither can Dr. Manhattan because they just go right through him because of his like dematerialization.
So they're like the same person, dude. They're both blue. They both can't get killed by bullets. They both can live in space. They both can live underwater. And both of them have powers that are not entirely measurable.
Well, I guess if you really want to get to it, if you're an atomic physicist, I suppose you could measure Dr. Manhattan's, but you cannot measure the ticks. I don't know why I'm helping you here, though. Let me tell you a little bit more about Dr. Manhattan. He can shift the color frequencies around him in order to hide his true appearance. So if he doesn't want to appear as a blue man, he can do that because he can alter the color frequencies. That's pretty wild. He can transfer his powers to others. His body emits ultraviolet radiation. In fact, one of the reasons he exiled himself to space is because they found that the people he was around, he was giving them cancer, just being around them. So that's sad. What a sad existence that must be. But because he's immortal, he had this one girlfriend, right? And then she got older, and he's kind of I guess he's kind of a jerk because he
oh yeah, no, he's a jerk for sure.
Ditched her, went to the younger person, a younger girl. But even though he is a jerk, I do think he is sort of has his like in the beginning anyway, he is out on humanity's side, but as he kind of realizes like he's just this like omniscient being, he just kind of originally kind of distances himself from humanity. Also, he can create universes. So there you go. You come at me, tick.
Kind of a side note here, not really a side note, but just you said you've never read The Watchmen?
I have not. No. Huh. I need to. I want to. I think Zach has it actually, don't you? Yeah, I should borrow it from you. I've always wanted to. It's been on my radar. I like V for Vendetta, written by Alan Moore, which is also wrote The Watchmen, but I just have not. But the Wiki Universe thing for DC Comics has a lot to say about him, though. So thank you for that. All right, Zach, you've heard a little bit of our cases here. What are your? You don't have to judge yet, but put us in a situation, man.
Little lopsided at the moment. Just doing like brute battle, one-on-one, brute strength, or are we in a specific dilemma or situation? It's hard to say.
Yeah, I don't know how these two would ever end up engaging in a battle.
That's our whole shtick, though, right? It's unlikely
That's true.
throwdowns.
I will say, you know, a lot of times we kind of question whether they can use their like outside resources and stuff like that. But I think in this situation, I think both of them are powerful enough where that really doesn't matter
You
anyway.
can
So I
have
wouldn't
Arthur
worry.
if you want to.
Oh,
I'll let you.
thanks. No,
I'll let you
he doesn't.
have-
He just kind of flies around though.
Oh,
He doesn't
that's right. He can
really
fly
do
too.
much.
Dr. Manhattan can fly and float. You know, just kind of chills there and be naked.
I don't know. Yeah, this is like, see, we really should, you know, we always said we were never going to use Superman.
I refuse to use Superman, but no one ever stopped me from using this guy.
But no one ever said we couldn't use Dr. Manhattan. I feel like that would be probably a more appropriate fight.
Yes.
We can't. This is not look good. It does not bode well for me for sure.
So, all right.
My
Let's
quote
see.
game will be better than yours.
Yeah, probably. Let's do brute strength first. You know, my dude's he's got super strength. Your guy's still got super strength. I guess Dr. Manhattan, I do have the advantage in that I can dematerialize and rematerialize. But you know, they're both strong. So maybe that would be.
I feel like yeah, I do feel like in when it comes to strength itself, I think probably that Tick might have it just on the account that like we don't really know how strong he is. But it seems like it's
You can't measure
pretty
it.
much,
It's
you
what
know,
it seems
you
like.
can't measure it. Like that's how strong he is. You know, like if you were to arm wrestle Goku, he would probably win, in my opinion.
That's how we measure things around here. Who can beat Goku in an arm
who can
wrestle?
win an arm wrestling match. So yeah, I think strength he's got it. Like he can, but the problem is with Dr. Manhattan is dude he can get pummeled and pummeled and pummeled. It doesn't matter. But then again, so can a Tick. They're both kind of invincible.
Yeah. So brute strength, it'd just be an eternal battle. I think when it comes
if it's just a boxing match, it's never going to end.
as far as a battle of wits and intelligence, Dr. Manhattan's got that for sure. Bro.
Well, yeah, obviously the Tick is not the brightest crayon in the box.
And I think that's what it comes down to, just knowing a little bit about Watchmen lore in general and like the story or arc of Dr. Manhattan and what ultimately happens to him. I think intelligence is the big thing, but you know, if you guys don't mention the specific of it, it's hard to lean one way or another.
Yeah.
But just kind of knowing what happens to that character within his own story, I think intelligence is more of the way to take him down.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because he's kind of like he's too smart for his own good, really. So maybe there's something there. You can, you know, what's the word? You can use that against him.
Again, they're kind of like in a lot of ways opposite because a Tick, it's you know, I mentioned he's kind of have like this childlike wonder to him. Like he doesn't, you know, he's not going to be the one who, you know, like you said, Dr. Manhattan, you know, tries to do the most good for the most people.
Logic.
I guess
He uses numbers. He's very
he uses numbers and logic, whereas the Tick's just a very like empathetic person who like cares about the people around him. So it's kind of an odd like thing. Really, the only similarity they have is that they're blue. And strong. Like, that's it. So
if I was gonna
I don't know.
If I was gonna have one of these characters protect me, I probably would choose the Tick, even though I know he's weaker. Just because like he has that human element that Dr. Manhattan maybe not. But yeah, dude, I don't know how you're gonna get out of this one. Let's do some quotes. All right, Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, I think when it comes to power ability, I don't think I really have much hope here, which is unfortunate. I really wanted the Tick to win a battle because he's such a fun character. So I'm a little disappointed by that, but that's okay. We'll go with our quote game because I got you on this
he
one.
might have me here. All we ever see of stars are their old photographs. That's kind of menacing in its own way. We're all puppets, Lori. I'm just a puppet who can see the strings.
Yeah. Okay.
Then he says, "Nothing ends, Adrian. Nothing ever ends." He's talking to Rocky's wife in that quote, actually. Just kidding, no, he's not. But yeah,
that took me way too long to figure out what you were just saying.
Come back at me, man. Mine are all like philosophical. Does the human heart know chasms so abysmal? Like just kind of like like those characters who are just so intelligent, so like dark, and it's like
Yeah.
their quotes are super sick, but it's just like almost like too much sometimes.
See, nobody wants to listen to that. So this is why I want the Tick to win, because he's just so much more fun. All right. Let's see. Don't be an Adolf quitter.
What does that even mean? What's he
I don't
talking
know.
about there?
Let's see what is it. We fight for vengeance. We fight for blood. We fight for the right to dance.
Maybe he's got him in the dance game. I've never seen. I don't know if either one of these characters. I don't think Dr. Manhattan, you see him dance ever, but maybe.
True.
But I think you do see the Tick dance. So there's probably when it comes to rhythm. I don't know.
You got any more? Because I got like a bunch of them.
All right. The Superman exists, and he's American. I actually like that one. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, that's true. But see, and originally, the guy who originally wrote that quote, he actually quoted it as God exists and he's American, but felt that wasn't appropriate for the people reading it. Sorry. Zach knows what I'm talking about. You need to read the Watchmen, dude.
Oh,
anyway. Let's see. My little name used to be helping people and helping people. The helping people tick. That's his full name. The helping people tick. I don't. Oh, here. This one is kind of relevant, of course, in terms of like the fight. I don't know the meaning of the word surrender. I mean, I know it. I'm not dumb. It's just not in this context.
Interesting. So he kind of has a bit of a never. We'll just keep going. He'll just take a beating and keep going and going. He could do this all day, like Captain America situation a little bit.
Can we have an episode where somebody doesn't quote Captain America and doing with that?
All right.
I feel like the last 3 episodes we've quoted him.
Maybe I should make it. We should quote it every episode. Actually,
I mean, we could.
Dave's not even here, but yeah, I don't know.
No. I'm kind of glad Dave's not voting for judging for this one because I feel like I don't think it would work for him.
All right, Zach. I think it's pretty straightforward who's winning this throwdown, but I don't have any closing arguments other than naked, omnipotent,
hold on,
blue
dude,
guy.
I gotta tell you this other quote though.
Okay.
I got a few more, but I definitely want to say this one.
Okay.
I'm about to write you a reality check, or would you prefer the cold hard cash of truth?
That's pretty sweet. Very witty. He's definitely okay. His quotes are a little more excellent than mine. Mine are like a little highbrow, but the Ticks are just like real, like down to earth. Love it. There is no future. There is no past. You see, time is simultaneous, an intricately structured jewel that humans insist on viewing one edge at a time, when the whole design is visible in every facet.
It's so boring. Wait, if this was a battle of actual entertainment, the Tick definitely wins. I'm just saying.
All right. Well, Zach, you know both these characters. I've discussed them both with you at different times. I know you've watched The Tick and you've read The Watchmen. So I'll let Poor putting it out there, man. What do you got for us?
All right. So if it's a battle of quips, I think the Tick definitely has the upper hand there. But I could definitely see these two going hand to hand for a while, since the Tick never gives up, never surrenders until Dr. Manhattan just gets tired and bored and vaporizes him into nothing. Again, Dr. Manhattan can be defeated. He has been defeated. Adrian, who you mentioned earlier, Ozymandias in Watchmen, actually uses the same technology that created Dr. Manhattan to kind of pull him apart and defeat him and destroy him. But that wasn't mentioned. So Dr. Manhattan definitely would take the day on this one.
Yes. Excellent.
Steven, you deserve it. You've only had like 2 wins, so.
Thank you, Zach. I will accept this win, and I will accept it.
It's kind of win by default.
And thank you, Sebastian, for sending that character in. I don't know that I would have ever chose this character, but thank you. You gave me a win. So
I didn't even think of him, actually. I think probably because he is very all powerful. Like, this one of the things about this sort of idea that we have this podcast is it's fun, but it's really hard when you have a character like Dr. Manhattan or Superman or Goku who just really realistically is just unbeatable. It kind of takes the argument out, as we just saw. But it's okay. It's fun. I think if anybody was going to take on Dr. Manhattan, I think the Tick would be a good candidate for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. But well, thank you for joining us, Zach. It's been a pleasure having you. Kevin, Zach is he's a freelance writer. He writes a lot about film. Zach, maybe you want to comment on that a little bit. What do you do?
Yeah, so I write for a site called Movie Web. A little more of the obscure entertainment type websites. But if you ever heard of websites like Screen Rant or Collider, it's along those same lines, slowly growing to match those two sites in their reach and whatnot. So yeah, just kind of write listicles is what we would call them. You'll see them all the time. I always call them clickbait articles, like top 10 performances by this person or top 10 Christmas horror movies, stuff like that. There will also times be some longer features kind of examining actors or movies or roles or genres in general. So yeah, kind of what I'm into on the side.
What's your favorite genre to as far as watching and writing about?
It's probably horror. I think horror has a lot more deeper things that you can dive into as far as themes and something very therapeutic to me, at least, about watching a horror movie.
Interesting. I've never heard that before. Therapeutic to watch a horror movie. That's really interesting.
Yeah, kind of see people in those different dire situations, I guess, is interesting to examine, and the underlying themes and whatnot of horror movies is, I think, go a little bit deeper than some of your other genres.
Yeah. What's your favorite horror movie?
Oh, The Shining. It's always
The Shining.
The go-to, yeah. Well, it doesn't match the book at all, but as standing alone as a horror movie, I think it stands above most.
One time, Zach and I, this was years ago, before you were even like officially part of the family, I think we went to go see. Remember the Lorraine Palace Theater, Kevin? Like that old school theater in Lorraine?
Yeah, no, my friend Carlos premiered its one little movie they made there. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So we they had a rescreening of The Shining in it, and it was really cool because even though it's not a hotel, it has like that same feel, like this old grand like theater, and I kind of
that would be an appropriate place to see The Shining for sure.
It was very very cool experience to sit in that theater and watch that movie, and Zach and I got to do that. It was really cool.
Yeah.
You have over 160 articles on Movie Web. That's pretty significant. What's been your favorite one that you've written, or the one that's had the most impact? You've had a lot of comments about, or
I'd say that's definitely quantity over quality for most of them. The one that got the most traction was an article about Boy Meets World and kind of examining some like flawed ideas and storylines that the show covered. It got a lot of traction, and a lot of people got very upset that I would even attempt to attack anything about Boy Meets World. And
dude, but realistically though, it's not that good of a show. I'm sorry, it's not.
It's got some flawed stories for sure. And then the other one was about Agatha Christie novels being developed into movies, and the Agatha Christie community came out real hard in the comment section on that one. So yeah, the Agatha Christie community and the Boy Meets World fan base, they're not too fond of those two articles that I've written.
Yeah, there's some Agatha Christie like snobs out there, I think.
Yeah. But
I didn't realize that was a thing until that article.
It's true with a lot of people though, like a lot of authors and stuff. Like Jane Austen has its fair share of snobs. Stephen King has his fair share of snobs. I'm sorry, I don't think Stephen King's as good as a writer as people think he is. It's like that with everything.
There's some good Stephen King, and then there's some boring Stephen King. Like The Shining is great. I like The Shining. I like that a lot, and like The Stand is huge. But some of them are like Buick 8, where about this murderous car. That's just weird. Like, I don't know.
But like I say in the writer profile or whatever that they have us type up for the website. That all the opinions are my own, but at least they pay me for my opinion.
That's true. Speaking of, what is your what's probably your most unpopular opinion about a film that people are like, what? Like give you the raised eyebrow at.
I feel like this is something we should all do real quick before we close out.
Okay.
So yeah.
Sounds good. Okay.
I don't think the movie Tarzan is particularly good as a
Like the Disney one?
movie. The Disney Tarzan, and people come at me for that. Tarzan, that kind of anything that came out after like The Lion King or Mulan. I'm talking like Tarzan, dinosaurs, those type. I
Brother
group all
Bear.
those into Brother Bear. I think I group all those.
And
Now
Brother
the
Bear wasn't
soundtrack,
that bad.
the soundtrack for Tarzan, top tier. But as a movie, I think it's B-level Disney all day.
It's one of the dark ages of Disney in the late 90s, kind of like they had like a dark ages where they had some poor films. Yeah. All right, Kevin, what's your unpopular opinion about some movie that people love or whatever?
I think I brought this up before in an episode of Brothers Born podcast a while ago, but probably my most unpopular movie opinion is that The Sandlot is a stupid and terrible movie and is not good in any way, shape, or form. And I don't understand why anybody thinks it is. It is stupid. I hate that movie.
Why do you hate it so much?
Because this is dumb. I don't know. It's just a dumb movie. It's not funny. It's not entertaining. It doesn't like give me any feels or anything. It's just a stupid movie. And every time I hear someone say "You're killing me, Smalls," I want to punch them in their stupid face for saying that.
Oh man.
Zach, how do you feel about The Sandlot?
I remember enjoying it as a kid, but I don't think I've seen it since then, and I don't really have any desire to go watch it. So that probably disinterest, I guess.
Yeah.
Same with the Goonies. I feel the same way about the Goonies as
really?
you do about Sandlot.
I liked it, like you said, I liked it when I was a kid. I haven't really watched it as an adult, so I don't know. I have to try that again sometime. Let's see, my unpopular opinion. Ooh. I don't really. It's not like a super hot take. I'm not the biggest fan of Frozen. I thought the first Frozen movie was not that great, but the second Frozen movie, however, I loved it. So that's kind of a weird. People might think that's strange, but I didn't really. Was not a big Frozen.
Yeah, I don't care for Frozen. Actually, speaking of Frozen, and since you mentioned Tarzan, Zach, I do have a question for you. And since this is sort of your jam, I kind of had this realization when it comes to Disney princesses that every princess starting with Rapunzel has the exact same personality, which is why I don't like Disney princesses so much after Tiana. Tiana was good, but like, what do you think? Do you think there's something to this thought that I have?
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I don't know if that's like lazy writing or just trying to appeal to the kids nowadays. But yeah, Rapunzel doesn't have a lot of like depth to her character, and neither do a lot of the other. I think as Elsa does a little bit, but I guess she's not technically a princess or what have you. But they don't really have deeper character, attributes.
Well, hold on though. Would you count Moana as a Disney princess? Because you do like Moana a lot, Kevin.
I do like Moana, but she still kind of fits into this. What I'm saying is like if you look. It started with, to me, it started with Rapunzel, and every single princess afterwards has the exact same personality. They have that like, oh, I'm quirky and weird, but kind of cute, but also kind of heroic personality. Every single one of them, they're exactly the same character.
Isn't that every Disney princess?
No, but I mean, like, especially so after, like, starting with her.
Interesting.
Because you compare the princess before Tiana. Tiana is a very hardworking person. Like she has more depth and more aspects to what motivates her. She has a certain level of intelligence. She's not just like, oh, I'm kind of a dork, and then I stumble into this situation and I get out of it because I'm a princess. Like, I don't know. I just feel like even Moana, and I like Moana, but every Disney princess starting with Rapunzel is exactly the same character.
Interesting take. Yeah. That's another hot take there.
They're less dependent on their well, no, they're still pretty dependent on their male counterpart. Yeah, never mind.
All right, Zach. My last question I wanted to ask you: if you could see any unlikely throwdown depicted in film, whether it's one that we've done on our show or something else, what would you just love to see?
So I went through the older episodes to try to, see which one. There's some interesting ones. Captain Hook versus Paw Patrol, Chase from Paw Patrol, I think would be an interesting one.
That'd be a
But
sweet movie.
the one I kept coming back to was the first one was Zelda and Groot, and simply because obviously I think Link would be involved as well, and he's primarily a video game character that notoriously doesn't speak. He's like, that's his thing, doesn't talk. And Groot, all he says is "I am Groot," and then you got Zelda. So I feel like the dialogue there would just be
that's true,
wildly bizarre and entertaining. Between Groot, who only says "I am Groot," Zelda, who says nothing. I'm sorry, Link, who says nothing. And then I don't know Zelda's speaking history, but
that is true. I didn't think about that. That would be a pretty interesting movie.
I don't know if thought bubbles above Link the whole movie.
That's cool.
But yeah,
thanks. Well, yeah. Let's put a word out to Disney and whoever does the Nintendo movies and see if they can make that happen, huh?
I think Sony Pictures is going to be doing the Zelda movie, I believe.
Oh, that's right. The Zelda movie's coming out.
Yeah, there is one coming out. I have a whole opinion on that, but I'm not going to get into that because it's kind of getting lengthy anyway.
But any of them would be pretty fun, I think. But I did not consider the dialogue aspect of the Zelda Groot one, and I do think that would be fun. So
I do think that, and this is more of like a widespread one, but all of the Rock's characters from his various jungle themed movies, against one of them, Jumanji, Rampage. There's several more that I'm not thinking of right now, but all like
Jungle Cruise,
all 4 or 5 or 6 of those Rock characters.
Man, dude, I'd be like up there with if every Tom Hanks captain faced each other in a battle.
Yeah.
I think I counted 6 different captains that Tom Hanks has portrayed. So the captains versus the Rocks. Oh man, that'd be a big old magnificent throwdown. Well, hey, thanks again for joining us. Where can we find your articles?
Yeah, so if you go to movieweb.com, I don't know if it's / my name. I don't know. If you just search my name on MovieWeb, it should pull up all my articles, or just read some of the other ones. There's some really good writers that work for the website. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll put a link to your page here in the show notes.
Cool.
Yeah, and thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
And as far as Brothers Born is concerned, we have David and Kevin did an excellent episode where they give me terrible parenting advice. So you should check that out.
That was pretty good.
And we have a lot of good throwdowns. You can find all of our stuff at brothersbornmedia.com, including a couple blog posts we've done. I recently reviewed and rated all of the Weezer albums from my least favorite to my favorite. And Kevin has an article about bomb flowers and Zelda. So lots of cool, fun stuff to check out. brothersbornmedia.com. If you have a character you want to submit to this podcast, you can email us at brothersbornpodcast@gmail.com, or you can just go to our website and send it. Today's Dr. Manhattan was submitted by somebody, and thank you again for that. And we'd love to get some characters from you. So, yeah, we'll catch you next time.
Catch you next time. Have a good one, everybody.